Hello and welcome to yet another video where I'm trying to do regular things to distract myself from all the horrors of war that is going on in my country. You know, pretending like things are normal and doing whatever you used to do is a good way of self-calming. And that's why today I will try to tell you about the LZ A4 Pro. I have some gear in queue and these earphones waited pretty long for their turn, so why not today? Let's have a closer look at this interesting model. I'm a fan of LZ. I like the tuning that offered in A5 and A6, and if I remember right, A7. It was long ago, so I don't remember the exact models I reviewed, but it's easily to find via search. And when they introduced a more affordable model, its price is $260, and I will add link to Hi-Fi Go shop in the description. I was interested to try them. Moreover, they used here carbon nanotube dynamic driver and 3 Knowles balanced armatures, so it's a pretty promising setup. And also, as usual, they made some kind of sound tweaking system typical for the LZ. As you can see, package is pretty basic, but looks at the same time reasonably fancy. On the back side there are technical specifications, what we can find in good here. 8 strands graphene copper silver alloy cable, pretty complex materials. 26 ohms of impedance and 112 decibels of sensitivity per milliwatt. Pretty good figures, actually really optimal for almost all sources. Inside, under the sleeve, you'll get inner box made of white cardboard, and here are earpieces themselves and box with accessories. So let's turn it upside down to get access to the earpieces themselves. Box of tips. So here is the second earpiece and storage can. Here most probably we'll get set of tweaking filters and cable itself. So as you can see, accessory set is pretty nice. Lot of different tips and small screwdriver for sound tweaking. Here are earpieces themselves, made of transparent, semi-transparent acrylic, or maybe it's resin. You can see some internals inside, and at the same time it's a pretty traditional shape that fitting pretty nicely. They have average length of spout, so sound isolation is also on the average level. You can unscrew the filters here to replace them and tweak the sound. Let's screw it back, and also additional filters can be unscrewed here. There is a lip for holding the tips and protective grill, so all these parts are in place. In general, design is nice, faceplate looks fancy, so all aspects of exterior are done nicely, and build quality of course is pretty good. Stock cable is also indeed really nice. It's soft, it's comfortable, not super soft, but definitely on the softer side of things. Microphonic effect is low, so really comfortable in everyday usage. So here it is fitting into left earpiece and clicks nicely in place. There is ear hook format, it's holding the cable around ear pretty well, and here it goes braided 4 strands per each earpiece, and here it is splitter with chin slider, not getting hard when it's cold outside. Microphonic effect is low, so in all these aspects cable is also very comfortable. And this part is also traditional, nicely braided 8-strand cable, goes to the straight 3.5mm jack. As you can see, in terms of exterior, cable is really well. And of course, cable, earphones, accessory set and all other stuff. And of course about the sound, so they have a tuning system. I found actually bass tuning more useful because you can adjust the amount of deeper bass, selecting between natural 0 decibels and 2 levels of boost. As for nozzles tuning, it's less useful to my ears because two of that nozzles represent two really extreme versions of tuning, either too warm and fluffy and or too bright and slightly piercing, and others too are pretty close. So basically that stock black and black version to my ear sounds pretty good, but of course feel free to experiment if you decide to get them. It's an interesting way of spending time. You can try 12 versions of tuning with different tips, so exciting way to kill few hours. I've burned them in for about 60 hours, but there were no big changes in sound, so that's it. In terms of tuning with that black settings, they show the typical LZ type of tuning, natural, slightly focused on the micro contrast and speed. It's definitely not the model for those who want super weighty representation, especially on mids, because you can boost low frequencies and you can make treble slightly warmer, but still mid will be natural, resolving and focused on the micro contrast. So let's go back to step-by-step description. Low frequencies have good depth. You can select the amount of lows that you want to achieve, and you can get pretty bassy tuning. Maybe not bass head, but definitely bassy. But main accent here is made on mid and deeper layers of bass. At the same time, lows have a good resolution. They more focused on the impact and punch and not on the weight. So not the model for those who prefer weighty representation, but a good for those who prefer speedy and crisp low frequencies with highlighted small nuances and overtones, and that suits really well to some acoustic instruments and stuff. That carbon nanotube dynamic driver is pretty agile. And first example track, it's Bijelo dugme, famous rock band from Yugoslavia, and track name Ovaj, ples, dami, biraju. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's blues with some really dense atmosphere with that with great acoustic bass that is plays important role here. Pretty minimalistic thing, just vocal, bass and some kind of shakers probably, and that helps to build the mood of this track, and these earphones play this acoustic bass pretty well. Mids are fast, focused on the small nuances and details, absolutely zero weight added. When it's present in record it represented nicely, but definitely not the model for those who like boosted dynamics or boosted emotions or something like that. Typical balanced armatures tuned for technical representation. And also pretty critical for the quality of records, because they highlight issues with recordings in a pretty noticeable way. Imaginary stage is noticeably above average in width and slightly more than average in depth, so width is bigger than depth, but separation done nicely. And as an example for the mid frequencies, I've got interesting live versions Since I've Been Loving You by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. Classical thing performed live, not as good recorded as a studio version, but actually thanks to the technical capabilities of these earphones, you getting that deep into the ambience of that live event, and you can get that sense of crowd and stuff. And treble, you can tune it between either bright or either warm and almost absent. I prefer slightly brighter tuning, so for me it's okay, but keep in mind that they could sound noticeably bright sometimes. Extension of treble is slightly above average. Treble is typical for balanced armatures, pretty fast, speedy, clean, crisp, and with a slight hint of basic layering. Nothing audiophilic or similar to the top of the line models, but still it's at least slightly hinted. Overtone saturation is nice, so it gives you a good sense of realism for the timbre-rich instruments and stuff. And as an example, I've got Rush YYZ. It's all about the percussions and all that cymbals, and these earphones represented really nice, crisp, slightly highlighted, really. I like this type of representation, but it's a matter of your tastes, of course. As for sources, they required something natural and technical to represent, to show their full potential. You can, of course, try to add some weight using something like Kane Ru6, for example, digital tonal converter. But, in my opinion, if you don't need natural and fast mid frequencies, it's just better to get some other model. You need to consider this model if you want faster mid frequencies and adjustable bass and treble. As for comparisons, to be honest, I can't recall any model right now, and to be honest, I'm a bit unfocused. So if you want some comparisons, just please write comment, and I'll try to outline the differences. But that's it probably for this review. And LZ-A4 Pro definitely continues LZ type of tuning, but in the more affordable segment. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.